Vish, hey Vish, what's the Sanskrit word for mountain? Giri. Parvata? Giri. How about New Jala Giri? Yeah, we can name this place. Jala means water. The watery mountain. It's a nice name, Jalagiri.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. So, Srimati, we are with the devotees also, like yesterday. There's 400 brahmacharis here. And actually there's a few more that joined, so it's almost 500 now.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaja's daily class. Today we are continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter, verse number 4. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisance.
Can you turn up your volume? It's quite soft. I can hardly hear you.
Yeah, I have some throat issue very much. I'm not able to talk so much loud, so that's the problem.
Okay.
Everyone is clear with my voice.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, verse number 4.
Yes, yeah, I'm bringing
Chapters in, what's the chapter entitled?
Vidura talks with Maitreya.
Vidura talks with Maitreya. Okay, now Vidura is traveling, and now he meets Maitreya. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tatsaruvaradisha Vartmasamnaha Samradhito Bhagavam Yena Pumsam Vidisito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Satadva Digamam Puranam Tatsaruvaryadisha Vartasamna Samradhito Bhagavan Yena Pumsam Riddhi Sito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Satatvam Digamam Puranam Chant Sadhu Varya Dishavarta Samna Samradhito Bhagava Yena Pumsam Vidistito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Sata Digyamam Puranam Sadhu Varya Dishavarta Samna Samradhito Bhagava Yena Pumsam Yadriti Tyati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Satatigamam Puranam. Anyone else? Tatsadu Varyadisha Varta Samna Samradhito Bhagava Yena Pumsam Vedistito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Sata Digamam Purana. Word for word, Tat. Therefore, Sadhuvarya, O great one amongst the saints, Adisha, please instruct. Vartma, the path. Some auspicious. Nanaha, for us. Samradhita, being perfectly served. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Yena, by which. Pumsam, of the living entity. Vedistita, residing in the heart. Yachati, awards. Bhakti Pute, unto the unalloyed devotee. Jnanam, knowledge. Sa, that. Tadva, truth. Adigamam, by which one learns. Puranam, old, authorized. Translation. Therefore, so Vidura is speaking to Maitreya. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he, who is situated in the heart of everyone, can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the Absolute in terms of the ancient Vedic principles, delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada's purport. As already explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Absolute Truth is realized in three different phases, although they are one and the same in terms of the knower's capacity to understand. Then the most capable transcendentalist is the pure devotee of the Lord, who is without any tinge of fruitive actions or philosophical speculation. By devotional service, only does one's heart become completely purified from all material coverings like karma, jnana, and yoga. Only in such a purified state does the Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart with the individual soul, give instructions so that the devotee can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajitam. Only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge, as he did for Arjuna and Uddhava. The jnanis, yogis, and karmis cannot expect this direct cooperation of the Lord. They are not able to satisfy the Lord by transcendental loving service, nor do they believe in such service to the Lord. The bhakti process as performed under the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, or devotional service followed following the prescribed rules and regulations is defined by the revealed scriptures and confirmed by great acharyas. The practice can help the neophyte devotee to rise to the stage of raga bhakti, in which the Lord responds from within as Chaita Guru, or the spiritual master, as superconsciousness. All transcendentalists other than devotees make no distinction between the individual soul and the supersoul, because they miscalculate the superconsciousness and the individual consciousness to be one and the same. Such miscalculation by the non-devotees make them unfit to receive any direction from within, and therefore they are bereft of the direct cooperation of the Lord. After many, many births, when such a non-dualist comes to sense that the Lord is worshipable, and the devotee is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, then only can he surrender unto the Lord Vasudeva. Pure devotional service begins from that point. The process of understanding the absolute truth adopted by misguided non-dualists is very difficult, where the devotee way of understanding the absolute truth comes directly from the Lord, who is pleased by devotional service. On behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura, at the very first instance, inquired from Maitreya about the path of devotional service by which the Lord, who is seated within the heart, can be pleased. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gina Jana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimakte Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Vastyatya De Satarne Vancha Kampa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the devotees are in the ideal position to be successful in the execution of devotional service. Why? Because they get help directly from the Lord. The non-devotees are those who are, what we say, work simply for gaining the benefits of sense gratification as their goal in life. They have no understanding of the Lord, nor are they even interested in the Lord. They're so busy trying to rearrange the material energy so they can somehow or other find some relief from material suffering and enjoy some form of sense enjoyment, which is fleeting and leaves as fast as it comes. And jnanis, drilling the respiration, great austerities, studying, performing various types of rituals, and each of those activities, if they're not performed exactly according to the standard that's given for the jnanis, a slight deviation, the whole thing is ruined, and they have to begin again. And of course, their goal is, of course, to be free from material suffering and to merge into the unmanifested aspect of the Supreme Lord, the Brahman effulgence. The yogis are a little bit better. They try to manipulate the material energy in such a way that they can gain some power and use that power to try to understand the nature of the Lord within the heart. But still, because they don't follow the authorized process of how to achieve the Lord, they simply speculate. They get a little elevation away from the material. They also gain some mystic power, and they can move things through their mystic power, and they think that this is success by manipulating the material energy. But ultimately, their goal is again to take birth again in the material world and continue where they left off to try to manipulate the material world, which is not manipulative because it's under the direction. Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sunacham. This world works under my control. What they try to manipulate is done partially, and it gives some what we say temporary satisfaction, but one cannot eternally or continuously manipulate the material world, because Krishna is always bringing, he puts within the material energy a certain energy that goes back to its standard way of working. In other words, they get the reactions of the results, either good or bad. But here, the devotees, they understand that alongside of them, within their body, the Supreme Lord is there, known as Antaryami, or the Super Soul within the heart, the Lord within the heart. And here, Srila Prabhupada talks about the divisions within Bhakti. There is the rules and regulations. This is called Vaidhi Bhakti. The first part of Bhakti is Sadhana Bhakti. And Sadhana Bhakti has two components. That is, following carefully rules and regulations given by the Shastras and authorized and explained by the spiritual master. And then they gradually make progress through the different stages of Bhakti. Adavasrada, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, that's initiation. After initiation, then one starts to remove within the different things that block the path of devotional service. These are called anarthas. Anarthas are things that are not wanted. Some of them are sinful, some of them are pious, but still both are blocks. Just like sometimes people desire better material situations through the process of devotional service. And they think, well, if I can achieve the heavenly planets and live for a long period of time, enjoy a higher sense gratification, why not? And Srila Prabhupada, unfortunately, he said it, but it's unfortunate, he said, many of my disciples will achieve Swargaloka. Because one has to come to the next stage of bhakti before they can actually get the benefits or the conclusion of bhakti, which is prema pumartha mahan, to develop our natural nityasiddha krishna prema saruka bunoi shravanari siddhi chitte koriye udoi. Every living entity, no matter what body they're in, that has pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's the only goal of devotional service. There may be intermediate goals that help one attain the higher goals, such as perfecting one's japa, learning the Shastras, being able to preach the Shastras. In other words, there are intermediate goals that elevate our consciousness to higher stages. But the ultimate goal is to come to the platform of spontaneous attraction to the Lord, and that's mentioned here. Raga Bhakti, or sometimes we say Raganuga Bhakti. It's the same, it's just different ways, different terminologies. So that Raga Bhakti is the nature of the soul's connection with the Lord. And that starts on a higher platform. After Anartha Nivritti, there comes Nishta. Nishta means one is fixed. That fixed nature is of two categories: fixed in the activities of devotional service and fixed in the mood of devotion. Don't think it's just, well, because I'm following all of the rules and regulations, I'm on Nishta. It means also fixed in devotion to the Lord. In other words, at that stage, when most of the anarthas are removed, there is an attraction for the Lord that automatically starts to manifest. And that attraction inspires one to further continue in devotional service. So being fixed in that mood of devotion to the Lord leads one to the next stage, which is ruchi. Ruchi is divided into two: excellence of elements and excellence without elements. And that is, well, that's a long explanation. I don't know if I want to go into that, but anyway. In other words, the one who is on the higher stage of ruchi, excellence without, elements without excellence, is that no matter what the kirtan is, even if it's not sung properly, the instruments are not played properly, still the person is enjoying the kirtan because they have reached the stage of attraction for Krishna. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakongshati Samasarvesu Bhuteshu Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. That is the stage by which one is starting to feel constantly joyful in the process of devotional service. And that joyful is manifested in their service and then also in the activities of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. So here, that's really, as explained by the Acharyas in different scriptures, that this is where Raga Bhakti starts to really develop. And Raga Bhakti, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I am not at all attracted to those who worship me with rules and regulations. He says that. It's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he's only attracted to those who are spontaneously attracted to devotional service, because Mahaprabhu is Radharani. He's in her mood. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi none different than Radharani in the mood, and of course in his color. She's Gaurangi, he's Gauranga. In that, they're identical there, but he's still Krishna, he's not Radha. Some people think he's Radha, but he's not Radha, he's Krishna. With her, and that, her mood is the highest stage of spontaneous love for Krishna. So he's coming to teach that in the form of the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Through the process of Harinam Sankirtan, or chanting, one can move through the different stages of bhakti and reach the stage of pure devotional service or pure love for Krishna in the highest platform of Krishna in Sri Vrindavan Dham. That's what Mahaprabhu came to teach. He didn't come to teach just rules and regulations. But, of course, it's a path that has to be traversed until one reaches those higher stages. And we make advancement in devotional service by how much we purify ourselves through the hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. It mentions in other places in the Shastras, this is the fast track. The fast track is to absorb oneself in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And that includes chanting, of course, and then satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. This is mentioned in third canto, where when one is in association with other devotees, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, that is rasayana, it's sweet. Because the glories of the Lord are sweet. They're like Prabhupada said, wherever you start, it's like a sweet bowl. You can bite it from any side, and the juice is still there. It's almost like a rasgulla. It's juicy, sweet, and very, what we say, satisfying. And where does the satisfaction come? Ritkarna, to the ear and also to the heart. The ear receives it, the heart benefits from it. In other words, one is elevated to attraction to Krishna by hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And on that stage here, back to the point of this particular verse here, it's explained that the Lord's in the heart and He is guiding, and also, what we say, guiding the living entity in the process of devotional service. That same guidance comes outside in the form of the spiritual master. But when one gets to the higher stages of bhakti, then one can directly connect with Krishna within the heart. And that's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. When the mind and senses are fully controlled, the super soul is already reached. Happiness and distress, honor and dishonor, heat and cold, the dualities of material energy appear to be one. They're not different like that. So one can take direct, what we say, guidance from the Lord within the heart. And that is non-different than what the spiritual master is manifesting outside. He is known as Antaryami, or the super soul outside, and then Krishna is the guide within. Both of those assist the devotee to come all the way to the stage of prema, or pure devotional service. So, of course, the process here is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. But here, what's mentioned is Maitreya. Now, Maitreya is not a very highly elevated devotee, but he met Krishna personally. Vidura is actually Yamaraj playing the role in this Leela with the Pandavas as the younger brother of Dhritarashtra to guide Dhritarashtra back to where he's supposed to be. He's a rascal. He thinks he knows everything, but he goes against Krishna. He's so attached, but his brother is his well-wisher. And despite the fact that Vidura was thrown out of the house by Bhima, not by Bhima, but by Duryodhana, still he didn't give up on his brother. And eventually, you'll read about it in the later portions of this. Actually, it comes in later chapters, how he actually gave up everything, went to the forest, performed austerities, but he couldn't reach Vaikuntha, he couldn't reach Vrindavan because he had offended the Pandavas. That offense against the Pandavas disqualified him from reaching Vrindavan. Although he got the highest form of instructions from his brother, still he couldn't do that. So that's mentioned because of his offense to the Pandavas. But still, he attained liberation anyway. But devotees, we are not interested in liberation. Why? Because we're already liberated. Bhakti is on the platform of liberation. One doesn't have to aspire for liberation separately. Sometimes liberation and the goal of life is used interchangeable by these shastras, that to achieve liberation is the perfection. But in the process of bhakti, it's above the three modes of material. Bhaktamam avijananti. It's already on the highest platform of connecting with the Supreme Lord. So by staying fully engaged in devotional service, there's no question of liberation. We may not experience that because of our consciousness, but still we're on the liberated platform. That means on the bhakti platform. But if you stay there, eventually you'll, when we say, free yourself from the anarthas, or what those things that are blocking our path, and then ultimately you can achieve the perfection of devotional service, and that means all good qualities manifested, the devotee becomes unlimitedly happy, and he gains pure transcendental knowledge. And that's the goal. So whatever activities we perform in devotional service are meant to purify us so we can move forward on the path of devotional service. That purification comes quickly when we please the Lord by our activities. I was just reading yesterday how devotional centers focuses on pleasing Krishna. So you might say, well, what pleases Krishna? The desire to please Krishna. If you have in your activity of performing devotional service, if you focus on, I want to offer this to Krishna as my service to him, that is pleasing itself. The results are secondary. Even if the results are less than what you conceive of as being successful, still the mood of pleasing is very satisfying, and of Krishna results. Then you might ask, well, how do you know that Krishna is pleased? And that's a question that Prabhupada got so many times. He said, you're pleased. You're pleased. He said, you are eternally connected with Krishna. Even though we may not feel or understand the connection, we cannot disconnect from Krishna. It's not possible. We can forget about the connection, but the connection is always there. And so when we serve, the connection becomes realized through the service. And then when Krishna is pleased, Prabhupada says, you become pleased automatically. See, that's an indication of how you know Krishna is pleased. And Krishna will let you know if he's not pleased. You'll get it one way or the other, through the guru, through the association of devotees, or some way or other. And that's just a way to help you realize that you still have some work to do. Okay, so, and of course here, the main thing is that Vidura he's highly qualified, but he's going to Maitreya. How is he going to Maitreya? He went to Uddhava first. Uddhava says, you should go to Maitreya. Now, Uddhava is a pure devotee. Maitreya is not a pure devotee. Why did he send him to someone who was not a pure devotee? Because Uddhava, by his natural humility, understood that Maitreya had the personal association of Krishna, and he was elder by age, so he was considered to be senior in that sense. So he sent him to Maitreya. And so this is the process, to go to take shelter of those who are qualified to give shelter. That means those who can guide one on the path of devotional service, and that's the bona fide spiritual master. Take shelter, tadviti pratipatanya, pariprasyena sevaya, upadekshyanti ke jnanam jnanina, tatvadarshanaha. So what is that? What is that? Pratipatayana? That means humility. Not coming with a challenging attitude or comparative attitude, wanting to actually understand and opening one's heart to be, and of course, pariprasyena, asking questions. Who am I? How can I make advancement? Please engage me in some service by which I can understand the process of in other words, asking for guidance in the form of questions, asking for philosophical understanding in the form of questions. Questions are important. In the Padma Purana, it's mentioned that when you're hearing, the process of hearing has a certain element to it that makes it successful. One should hear from those who are qualified to speak. That's the first bit. Make sure that you're hearing from those who are not concocting or have a history of using their own ideas and sprinkling it in with philosophical teachings, some kind of sophistry. And in other words, hear from devotees who are engaged nicely, fully in devotional service. 2, don't try to become transparent. In other words, receive the information as it's given, rather than trying to challenge it or trying to reinterpret it. You can try to understand it, but not reinterpreting or not challenging it. The third one is destroying the faults of the mind. Destroying the faults of the mind means as the mind wanders from place to place during the hearing process, bring it back. Just like you're sitting here, I'm speaking, you're thinking, boy, that prasadam back there, he's cooking, it's going to be some nice breakfast today, but forget that. So the mind goes, so yeah, forget about all of these other thoughts that somehow divert our attention away from the hearing process and bring it back. And then those three things combined together bring either one of two results: questions or realizations. In other words, you get realizations. Oh yes, what he's saying, I understand, it makes sense, I can accept it. Yeah. Or the other one is, I need some clarification, some question based on what I heard, so that's in line with our process, to hear, to ask questions. That's mentioned in the inquisitive devotee, actually. Srinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Ridyansto Abhadrani Vidyanoti Sihit Sitam. Devotee is hearing, but also very inquisitive to understand what they're hearing. And Krishna within the heart automatically helps to purify the devotee so they can make progress simply through the process of hearing. Because hearing is one of the 9 processes of bhakti. One can become perfect in Krishna consciousness simply by hearing. But in this age, kirtan, so hearing and chanting. Okay, so this is some points we can think about. So we'll stop here and open it up for questions. Any questions for the devotees present here, or? Okay, so Srimati, so we have one question here, and then see if any devotees online are also questioning. Yes, Vishnu Chitta Prabhu.
So, Maharaj, you were making the point about how non-devotees, they're very interested in adjusting material nature, and they get caught up in this, and they think that just adjusting material nature is success.
That's their whole business.
Yeah. But in devotional service also sometimes we feel we need to make some material adjustments to facilitate our Krishna consciousness. How do we know we're getting too engrossed in that rather than giving importance to depending on the Lord and surrendering to what is being sort of...
Well, that's called, what is it called? Let's see. Rupa Goswami mentions overeating is what? Atyahara prayasa. The word is prayasa, over-endeavoring too much in devotional service. So Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses an example. You need to distribute books. So you need a truck to carry the books, you need to get the books, you need to make plans on where to go. So that's not prayasa. That's not prayasa. But so in other words, keep it in line with what you need to carry out devotional service. Anything outside of that may fall into the prayasa. I need to get a PhD before I can practice devotional service. Otherwise, how will I understand this philosophy? So in other words, something that really doesn't align oneself with what is actually necessary for executing devotional service. So there has to be some discrimination and not get over-involved with making so many arrangements. Prabhupada uses the analogy, there's a fair going on, and one lady, she's planning to go to the fair, and she's getting all dressed up. So she's in the front of the mirror, putting on the makeup, putting on her clothes, getting everything up. And she takes so much time when she gets to the fair's over. So not like that. So, we have to use our intelligence. Prabhupada said you have to use your intelligence how to execute devotional service. Not everything is going to be handed to you, So. But our intelligence is formulated by the instructions we receive from the spiritual master. Yeah. Yes. We have one more question here from Mahotsaha, and then we'll get to Raja next.
Yeah, it's Amit Prabhu.
Amit. Okay. So Amit, you're next, but sit tight and relax for a minute, and we'll be right back.
Maharaj, you were quoting Srila Prabhupada saying that a good amount of his disciples might go to the heavenly planets.
Prabhupada said that at least 2 times that I remember. He said because they won't be able to fully surrender to the process devotional service. Because as you practice devotional service, you're moving forward, and then the tests will come. But the tests become more and more subtle as you become more and more proficient at the execution of devotional service. avoiding offenses, making sure one does not, say, fall into, these are mentioned by Rupa Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, puja, pratishta, and there's a whole,
Nishidachar Putinati.
yeah, all of the kutinati, yeah, all of these things are more or less weeds that grow up with the bhakti plant. And so Prabhupada was indicating that many of the devotees will never be able to fully actually come to that stage of purification. So they'll get the benefit either taking Suchinam Simbatam Gehe, taking birth in a good family, Yoga Brashya Pradayate, or they may go to the heavenly planets and then come back and continue the devotional service after they exhaust their pious activities in the heavenly planets. Come back again to take birth in a family of devotees. But why waste time, you know? And there's no guarantee in that interim period you still could fall down in those times also, you know. So
Maharaj, so does the spiritual master come back life after life to get the disciples back? How does that work?
interesting question. He's asking, is the spiritual master coming back life after life to get the rascals who are not up to the standard? If a devotee is giving his best in devotional service, if he falls short before the time he leaves the body, yes. But if he gives up, no. Then the contract is somewhat nullified.
And Prabhupada did say that, right, Maharaj? That if you don't keep your end of the contract, then you can't hold me accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, when you, on the time of initiation, there is a vow. You make a vow that I will follow strictly the instructions of my spiritual master, and then we also make, numerical vows with chanting, follow the four regulative principles, and one has to also follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And the instructions are of two kinds, those that are mentioned in his lectures and in his books, and those that he may give personally to the disciples. So yeah, if they don't follow, then how can the spiritual master no longer responsible? Because it's the Vani that connects. It's not the Vapu. Does that help? Hello? Okay. Okay, we have one. Admit.
Yeah, Amit Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Maharaji.
You can speak nice and loud.
Can you hear me, Maharaji?
Can you hear him? Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Very beautiful verse that you lectured on. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your intellect in explaining this to a neophyte like myself. My question is about the different paths that were mentioned in the verse.
About
And even
question about what?
you know,
What was the question related to?
yeah. So the question is, even Krishna has expressly mentioned the superiority of the devotional path, bhakti yoga. Why do some people end up taking the other paths, like you mentioned, the jnanis, the yogis, and the karmis? To me, it feels like
Why do
I'm driving and there's a sign that says take the highway and you reach home in 15 minutes. Why do people want to take those side roads or those side streets and residential areas with all the stop signs? And like, why is it gunas that are at work? Some previous life things that are making people take
So the
this
question
path?
is, why do people take up karma, gyan, yoga, and why not bhakti when karma, gyan, and yoga require so much, when we say expertise in achieving their goal? And karmis can never achieve any goal. Their goal is samsara dava, nanalita loka, life after life. They come back and play the same game. Well, we have two. The soul has its nature. It's called constitutional nature. and that is Jiver Surupai Krishna Nityadas. But we have a conditioned nature also, and that is our association with the material energy, birth after birth after birth. And we're compounding that conditioned nature each time we take birth. So it becomes thick. Sometimes it becomes so thick we can't even understand the fact that we're not this body, even if we hear about it. So, yeah. So depending on the level of that conditioned nature, people are being influenced by that, by the three modes of material nature, because all these conditioned natures have characteristics that align with one of those three modes, either goodness, passion, and ignorance. And therefore, their activities are within the three modes, and they get the results accordingly. So that's the majority of the living entities. Very few take up bhakti. Only those who are fortunate receive the mercy of the spiritual master and recognize that that mercy is what they're looking for. Then they're fortunate. Then they are on the right path. But that's very rare, especially in Kali Yuga. But if you do it, then you will understand that this is actually what I'm looking for. The karmis and gyanis and yogis are looking for the same thing that we're getting, but they're approaching it in the wrong way. If you go into a cloth shop and you want to buy some toothpaste, Haribo, you can't buy any toothpaste in the cloth shop. So the karmis are going into the material energy looking for happiness or satisfaction or success. They're in the wrong department. Good.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Okay, Rajesh. Oh, I'm not Rajesh. Rajahari. Rajahari. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled devotees. Beautiful lecture, especially on the superiority of devotional service. You also mentioned, or it was mentioned that how Chaitya Guru, if you are a devotee, you have direct connection to the Lord, and Lord then inspires you from within. And you also kind of mentioned about process of anartha nivritti, and you said that you can also have good anarthas. I just wanted to understand a bit more as how Lord inspires you, and what's the process of anartha nivritti, and how can you actually accelerate the process of purifying?
Well, don't try to connect with the Lord directly within the heart unless you have reached that stage of receptivity. We get the same message externally from the spiritual master. What the spiritual master is saying is what the Lord is saying in the heart, the same thing. The spiritual master is the pure representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, does he know everything? No. Does he know what he needs to know? Yes. So he's inspired by Krishna to guide his followers in devotional service. That's his qualification. So you can accept that same message externally, which is the way to go. As you practice and make progress and rid yourself from these anarthas, gradually you can come to the platform of hearing directly from the Lord within the heart. Now Srila Prabhupada would also say, the Lord is in the heart is speaking to us all the time, at every moment. But can you hear it? Because there are also other things in the heart, like Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Matsarya, what else is there? Mada, Mohan. The heart is filled with other, what we say, voices that are pulling us this way and that way. So the voice of the super soul is the sweet, soft voice in the heart, not the loud one. The loud one is the false ego. But to connect with that, the process is first connect regularly with the spiritual master. As you purify yourself, then, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, when the mind and senses are completely controlled, then the super soul is reached. Controlled means focused on devotional service.
And we will recognize that our mind is in control based on the quality of a chanting.
Well, the quality of your chanting is also indication of the control of the mind. But Prabhupada said, just try to hear, that's all. By hearing and connecting with the sound, the mind becomes captured. You cannot capture the mind through the sound, and don't try to let the mind try to capture the sound. It doesn't work that way. One senior devotee says, don't try to conquer Krishna with your mind when you chant. Simply hear. Focus on the hearing process. Then the mind will follow once you connect with the hearing process. Okay?
So
Okay.
in a nutshell, what you're saying is, till you come to a level where you're fixed, spiritual master is actually providing an external manifestation of Chataguru.
Yeah, he'll speak to you according to how best you can make progress. He speaks differently to different followers, depending on their situation, depending on, what level of practice they're on.
Understood.
Okay. So we have another question here, Srimati, from on site here, and then we'll go to Prachi after that.
Yes, sure.
Maharaj, so we see the story of Dhritarashtra. He had so much opportunity from everyone around him to become Krishna conscious. But yet, it's just astounding how he did not. And
It's called Hridaya Dulabhya, weakness of the heart. When you know something is right, but you can't do it because of material attachment. The example would be, it's kind of an example. A person is addicted to smoking, but they read the package. It's going to cause heart disease, emphysema, even causes death, but they still smoke. They know something is not good for them, but they still do it because of attachment. Or they know something is good for them that what they hear, but they still can't do it because of attachment. It's called Hridaya Durlabhya, weakness of the heart. That one, he was personified. When Krishna gave him instructions, he also said, I know what you're saying is right, but I'm attached to my sons. He couldn't give up the attachment to his, what we say, his envious sons who are dragging him in the wrong direction. Family attachment can be very, very, what we say, binding.
so he's an example of someone, even after suffering, he didn't really change. So Vidura goes and chastises him. What to do with personalities like that, and how to not become one of them? That's one question. And what to do with personalities like that? How do we give them some kind of mercy, engagement, something like this. Or
You have to give them something they can accept, and not something they can't accept. Something they can't accept won't do any good for them. You have to see on what level they can. Usually, persons like that, if you're working with, just give them some service to do. Yeah. Usually, by service, they get a little bit happy and a little bit purified, and that helps to get over those attachments. Give them some service they may like to do, just to keep them engaged, like that. Yeah, okay, so follow up on that point. Yeah.
Right. I wanted to follow up on the previous subject matter we were speaking about, how the spiritual master, sorry, Hare Krishna, sorry much, yeah. About the spiritual master, if he actually comes, if the contract is set, and you were making the point that if the disciple is giving all he has and then he doesn't make it, then the spiritual master is obliged. But we're seeing about this case about people going to the heavenly planets. So are they giving it all they have, Maharaj? Because they might be following the 4 eggs, chanting Hare Krishna, and that gives you so much punya also that you can go to the heaven. But is that the definition of giving it all you got?
There's a very subtle point here.
Maharaj, can you repeat?
We talk about how most based on the question that came up earlier, that when is the spiritual master obliged to come back for a disciple who is not fully purified? And I mentioned that if they are fully accepting and guiding and working to carry out the instructions of spiritual master, but somehow or other, due to the situation or whatever, they still can't reach the stage of pure consciousness, then yes. So then the question now is that even those who reach the heavenly planets, maybe they tried their best and that's all they could do. So now we're into the area of philosophical speculation. So in the philosophical speculation, we would say that then when they take up devotional service, yeah, they'll also get the chance to again get back to the stage of pure devotional service. They may have to go through that interim part of reaping the results of their activities, and then they fall down and Suchinan Simbatang Dehe go, and then they come back in a pious family and begin again. Then again, they'll meet their spiritual master who come in a different form though. Yeah. Is that okay? I mean, does that make sense? It seems like it's in line with. What do you think? Makes sense? Anyone else want to challenge that one? Beginner's good at challenging. No, he's in this non-challenging mood right now. Okay. All right, so now we have Prachi. Prachi always asks nice questions. Okay, Prachi. You got some real intelligent people out here listening, so let's give it all you got.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to you, Maharaj. Maharaj, I'm trying to understand the concept of Achinta Bheda and dualism, simultaneous oneness and difference. Maharaj, for beginners or people who are beginning their journey, is it okay for them to have just the understanding of dualism, and then as they progress and reach the stage of Nishta, is that the time for them to understand Achinta Bheda Beda, or that concept should be rooted right from the beginning?
You want an example of Achintya Beta Beta?
I wanted to understand the difference between when to introduce, when people are ready to accept this versus dualism versus,
Oneism, yeah.
oneness.
Yeah. Well, how do people accept it or don't accept it? That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, it's a reality, whether they accept or not. it's just like spiritual master is one, but the spiritual master is also different. So you have Diksha Guru and you have Shiksha Guru. Both are spiritual masters. That's the oneness. There's only one aspect to Guru. But they play different roles in relationship to the disciple. Therefore, there is what is called dualism. So Guru is one and different simultaneously. So that's an example. So whether people accept it or not, that's up to them. They have to understand that this is a foundational principle that was taught by Lord Chaitanya personally. And it's not what we say, debatable. You just have to understand it. That's all. But achintya is there. Achintya means it's inconceivable. So therefore, how does it become conceivable? Through the process of bhakti. By executing the activities of devotional service, one gains what we say transcendental knowledge automatically. It comes automatically by the process of devotional service. Unless they engage in devotional service, if they simply stay as the Gyanis do, try to philosophically understand things through the process of neti, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, they'll never come to the conclusion. Because neti just leads to the same thing, more of the same. You can't come to a positive through negative. It's not. If you just go through negatives and you think you'll come to a positive eventually, it's not possible. So we offer it as the process of bhakti. The soul is one and different with Krishna. The soul is qualitatively one with Krishna and different in quantity. That's another principle of Achintya Beda. See, the Mayavadis and other spiritualists, they accept the oneness, but they don't accept the difference. They say Brahman is not divisible. There's only one Brahman, so you can't divide Brahman into great Brahman and small Brahman. They say that. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what is that verse? Savai Pumsam, no, that's not it. Mamavam Sajiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta, Sanatana, Jiva Bhuta, Masastani, Andriyani, Prakriti Stani, Karsiti. That, eternally the soul and the super soul, the supreme soul and the individual soul are Sanatan. They're eternally different. They say that's only true during the manifestation, but when you reach the perfection, then it all becomes one. So these are people who study the scriptures but give their own interpretations that are different than the bona fide acharyas. And Krishna, yeah. So that's an example. So you'll get a lot of that. They emphasize the oneness. And the non-devotees, the karmis, they emphasize the difference. That's why you can't have any unity in the world, because they have no center. The oneness is the unity. The difference is how we connect with the unity in varieties that align with the unity but still have the individuality. So therefore there's no unity in the material world. So that's why you see more and more divisions. this group, that group, this group, this group, this group, group. They create a group and then they split that group again, and again. And so many, because there's no center. And Prabhupada always used the example of the United Nations, that they all came together for peace in the world. But where's the peace? Because each nation is representing their own interests as they come together. And so there's no unity. They stay diverse, that's all. More flags, that's all. That's the only thing they gain. They decorate the building with more flags. So these are examples of how without a common center, everything else becomes what we say divisible, and then everyone wants to fight with everybody else. This way is better, this way is better. I'm the center, you're the center. Yeah. But we devotees connect with the oneness. The oneness is devotional service to Krishna. And the variety is how we can serve Krishna in different ways. Whether you're serving one way or another, still there is a oneness there. And the variety is accepted because the oneness connects everything together.
That's very beautiful, Maharaj.
Huh?
This is very beautiful that the service actually is the oneness that unites all the devotees.
Yeah.
And that's what is satisfying Krishna, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Yeah. Yeah, it's important to learn about this point. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions here on the floor? Okay. We have another question from our CEO. Okay. I call him the CEO.
Maharaj, so when the mind and senses are controlled, the super soul is
Already reached, yeah.
Yet there are transcendentalists who are not Krishna conscious,
Yeah.
who have their mind and senses controlled,
Yeah.
but they cannot take instruction from the Supreme Lord on how to approach Him because they're not practicing Krishna
They
consciousness.
don't accept the Bhagavan aspect of the absolute truth. They connect with the other two.
Okay.
Vedanti tad tadvad vigyats tad jnanam aveyam.
Yes. Okay.
Brahmeti. Yeah. Yeah, they focus their attention on the Brahman, or to achieve the Brahman. And to get that, you also have to have mind and senses controlled.
Okay. And you mentioned that Dhritarashtra couldn't go to Vrindavan because he had committed offenses to the Pandavas.
He couldn't achieve he couldn't, yeah. That's mentioned in one of the purports in that same narration, yeah.
Oh, in Prabhupada's purports?
It's in the
okay.
Bhagavatam, yeah.
Oh, in first canto.
Yeah,
Is there? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because of his offenses to the pure devotees, he wasn't able to, although he got liberation, but still not bhakti.
And in this purport, Maharaj, Prabhupada says that only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the devotee does he impart knowledge. So, how to satisfy? I mean, at least right now, I don't. Doesn't feel like Krishna is satisfied with my service because I don't get knowledge from him. So
you're getting knowledge, but maybe you're looking for some revelation. Revelations.
I'm often bewildered. That's why.
Knowledge is coming. Knowledge of how to do your devotional service. That's also knowledge. How to execute devotional service. That's also knowledge. Knowledge about, if you read the books, you're learning about, Krishna, his activities, how he connects with his pure devotees, how he connects with the neophyte devotees, how he connects with the material energy. We're learning, we're getting knowledge. But if you're talking about knowledge about your relationship with Krishna, that comes on Raga Bhakti. That's, you mean, when we get to the point of understanding what is our nature, who we are in the spiritual world, and what is our relationship with Krishna. That knowledge will come as you make progress through the different stages. And it comes by purifying yourself through the chanting of the holy name. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that. It's the holy name that elevates one through the different stages. And we have to work on coming to the point of offenseless chanting. And then the process becomes quick. As long as we're committing offenses, it's slow.
So the way to advance from a Kanishta to a Madhyama and beyond is specifically through the chanting of the holy name.
That's the essence and service, working under the guidance of the spiritual master, following his instructions. Of course, the most important instruction, as Prabhupada also said, is to chant every day 16 rounds on beats without fail. So he gave, out of all of instructions, he emphasized that as the most important. And if we're doing that, then the rest of our activities become more natural, more easy, and more pleasurable also. Okay, did you get the question, Srimati?
Yeah, little bit, Maharaj. We couldn't understand the follow-up part. The follow-up part we didn't understand. I think
The follow-up part about
the question, the first asked question.
oh, you mean about going to the heavenly planets? That one?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't understand that. Well, any attainment to anything in this material world is temporary. So those who achieve the heavenly planets, what is this? What's that verse? Punya, sine punya marchi. Yeah. When your pious and spiritual credits start to dissipate, then you come back again to execute activities in the material realm or on the middle planetary system. And then, if they're still connected to the spiritual master because they haven't given up, but there's an interim period, and then the spiritual master will be there again. And then in that birth, they'll get a chance to reconnect again. Krishna will again guide that soul to a spiritual master. Okay.
We are almost at the end of the hour, and we have a question on chat by Radha Vinodini Mataji. Shall I go ahead with that?
You have a question by who?
Radha Vinodini Mataji, she is asking, regarding the weakness of the heart, I was thinking that the Lord says that the intelligence is superior to the mind. So the weakness of the heart is when the mind grows too strong, even though the intelligence is the superior one.
Right. So,
That when the attachment is too strong, then the intelligence cannot overcome the mind,
yeah,
or the intelligence always has the power to overcome the mind.
the intelligence has to be aligned with transcendental knowledge. And then by using transcendental knowledge, applying it, one can control the mind and bring the mind to the spiritual platform, or to the devotional platform anyway. But if the intelligence is not fixed, then the mind will drag the intelligence this way and that way. Mind is very strong. The mind doesn't stop. Chanchala himana Krishna pramati balavadridha tasyaham digaman maye vayoridam saduskaram. And Krishna says, all right, you asking me how to control the mind? It's very difficult. Practice. and give up sense gratification while you're practicing. Don't think you can make progress by practicing devotional service and cultivating sense gratification at the same time. You're putting water at the same time trying to light a fire. It's not going to work. We have to come to understand that this material world has nothing for us to offer. Everything we're looking for is in the spiritual realm. This material world is a reflection of the reality, and you can't enjoy in the reflection. You have to enjoy in the reality. So based on that understanding, the devotee focused their attention on Krishna, on devotional service, on associating with devotees. And knowing that whatever I'm looking for, I can find it through devotional service. And then Krishna does that. He even gives you material desires. He fulfills your material desires sometimes when he's pleased by your devotional service. A person wants to get married. I have an example. I'll give you an example. One of my good friends from London, and he was chasing after ladies. And he found one lady, finished. Another one, little better, no good. The third one, didn't work. So I said, stop it. Just focus on devotional service. And I guess by the process of elimination, he decided to listen. And then he just focused on devotional service, and now that girl came. Yeah, by Krishna's arrangement. Now these are not instructions from brahmacharis now. These are just examples of how things go on in the world. Well, Krishna, Prabhupada also says that if the devotee still wants some material desire and he pushes it aside and just focuses on devotional service, Krishna will give him that. And even when he gets it, he might think, I don't really want it anyway. Or he might take it and use it in Krishna's service. Yeah. Because the devotee is feeling the connection with Krishna through devotional service. Okay, good. So we can stop here. And now the problem is tomorrow. The class is at 6:20 tomorrow.
Oh, yes, Maharaj. I didn't realize that you are in Central Time.
I'm on Central Time. Yeah, we're on.
6:20 in Central Time.
My class is at 6:20 tomorrow. Well, we can make it 6:30. Will that work for you guys? Yeah, 6:30. Yeah, it's a whole different group, and there's about 3 times as many people online. So it's a bigger group. I do it once a month. No, was it twice a month? On every other Thursday. So.
So I just quickly announced the
What's the verse?
topic. The topic is tomorrow is Rath Yatra Day, Jagannath Rath Yatra Day. So
Oh, the topic tomorrow is Jagannath Rath Yatra. Is that all right? Okay. The brahmacharis are all for it. Okay.
Maharaj is going to talk about Gundicha Mandir March.
Gudicha Manjarin. We can pick a verse from the Gudicha Manjarin chapter in CC and then make that the springboard for the class. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you Maharaj, such a nice class and nice discussion. Thank you dear devotees. We all again tomorrow. The Bhagavatam Jai Shri Prabhupada Jai Shri Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Bo. Srila Prabhupada.